significance of the name. And he'll be sharing that a little bit with you. But as I was going through the e-blast and preparing that for you, we talked about tackling commitment issues at the knees. And the other one was, what is your knee-jerk reaction to relationships? And we're going to tackle a little bit of that today, because knee-jerk reactions, this is the figurative definition, is an automatic or reflex reaction. An immediate reaction made without examining causes or facts. And I give an example. With one of his typical knee-jerk reactions, he said no immediately, citing some moral argument that no one understood. Yes, I've been that person. I've been someone who had a knee-jerk reaction. Someone rolls up, you know, I'm not talking about someone rolls up on me, and I'm like, what? That with this? What do you think? You know? I have some of those kind of like former life knee-jerk reactions that should not occur now that I'm sanctified and saved. Right? It should not. But it does. It's a knee-jerk reaction that I go to the Lord, look at him in my prayer closet, cry, Lord, get convicted. Here's my topics. The difference between Boaz and JokeAZ. Yeah? We'll talk about that today. What women really? Yeah. All you men are brave enough to come today. Good for you. All right. Why healthy resistance is key to pursuit. Why healthy resistance is key to pursuit. A friend of mine said, well, that's just plain hard to get one. I said, yeah, healthy resistance is key. If you're playing hard to get, that's because you aren't sanctified. You're having a knee-jerk reaction. Numbers chapter 6, verse 1 through 7, it says, Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, When either a man or a woman consecrates an offering to take the vow of a Nazirite, to separate himself to the Lord, he shall separate himself from wine and similar drink, and he shall neither vinegar made from wine, nor vinegar made from similar drink. Neither shall he drink any grape juice or eat fresh grapes or raisins all the days of his separation. He shall eat nothing that is produced by the grapevine, from seed to skin. Verse 5 says, All the days of the vow of his separation, no razor shall come upon his head until the days are fulfilled for which he separated himself to the Lord. He shall be holy. Then he shall let the locks of his hair on his head grow all the days that he separates himself to the Lord. He shall go near no dead body. He shall not make himself unclean, even for his father or his mother, or his brother or his sister, when they die, because his separation to God is on his head. I felt like it was important to read that, because if we're going to be studying about Samson and Delilah, it's important what the Nazirite vow is. And that was stated in that. I'm just going to give you guys bullet point formats of Samson. Let's open to Judges 13. And this is basically a declaration of when Samson was born. Again, the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hand of the Philistines for 40 years. The book of Judges, if you read it chronologically, it is a devastating book. There's so much. Almost every chapter will open up, and again, the children did evil in the sight of the Lord. And every time their oppressors oppressed them over 40 years, right? And then the Lord hears their cries of their disobedience. Now they're reaping the consequences of their disobedience, and then the Lord raises up a judge for them, someone, a deliverer for them. Now, verse 2 says, Now there was a certain man from Zorah, of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren, and had no children. And the angel of the Lord appeared to the woman and said to her, Indeed now you are barren, and have borne no children, but you shall conceive and bear a son. Now therefore, please be careful not to drink wine or similar drink, not to eat anything unclean, for behold, you shall conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come upon his head, for the child shall be a Nazirite to God from the womb. ye shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines. From the time of his birth, when he was conceived, the Lord had called and separated him from the time of conception. Isn't that wild? When you really get into this, it was actually the Lord. And when they asked him what his name was, he said, I am. So it is Jesus. And Manoah even asks him, what's your name? He goes, well, you can't understand that. You can't even comprehend it. You can't contain it. And all he says is, I am. So now this is Christ that has appeared to this couple saying, you're going to have a son. And from the time that he is, because what we read in number 6 is that he's the Nazarite vow just is for a season of separation. There's a season of separation. He is to be separated his entire life. A few of his character traits that we're going to focus on. So the first thing is in Judges 14, verses 1 and 2. I'll just read that real quick. Is now Samson went down to Timnah and saw a woman in Timnah of the daughters of the Philistines. So he went up and told his father and mother, saying, I have seen a woman in Timnah of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore, get her for me as a wife. Did you get that tone? Imagine, some of y'all have kids. If your kid was like, yeah, I saw this chick, Dad, Mom, go get her for me. You'd be like, oh, no you do. Okay? He is a grown man. He is a judge of Israel. He's practically the president of the United States. He is the judge over Israel, and he is the deliverer of Israel. And this is how he talks to his dad, his mom and dad. But let's now take a look at what he says here. The text says, he went down to Timnah and saw a woman. Saw a woman. He just saw her. So we studied last time I went to 735, we talked about Robert Ross's book, The Lust of the Eyes. He saw her. Did he love her when he first saw her?
Possibly.
Possibly?
Impossible.
Impossible. He just probably liked her shape. She was impressive. He was like, wow, my breath away. To the fact that he would actually go to his parents and say, I have seen a woman in Timnah of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore get her for me as a wife. Didn't even get her name. He didn't even roll up on her. He didn't get her name. He was just like, I want her. Go get her. Like today. Right? So there's a spirit of entitlement. There's a little bit of bullying, I think, too, in his parents that's happening here. Because in verse 3, 14, Judges 14:3, it says, is there no woman among the daughters of your brethren or among all of my people that you must go and get a wife from the uncircumcised Philistines? That is the father's response. I'm going to ruffle some feathers. You've got your devout Christian, loves the Lord Jesus, hallelujah, all that stuff. And then she comes back from a work trip, and she's like, gosh, I met this guy, maybe, he's like, we doing here, and all that stuff. And the relationship's unfolding, and you're like, wow, that's amazing. Like, is he Christian? Because you're sure, where does he go to? Well, no, he's not. No, he's cute, and he's like, oh my gosh, all these wonderful qualifications. Is there no woman or man among the sons of your brethren, among all the people, that you must go and get a wife or a husband from the uncircumcised Philistines? Uncircumcised Philistines. Oh, so cool just to say that, you know? Kind of weird. Like, what is that, you know? And so the Philistines were, they're idolaters. What is our first commandment? Thou shalt not have any other gods. Nobody. Just me. An atheist once asked me, well, do you really believe that Jesus is the only way, God is the only God? I'm like, the first commandment says, thou shalt not have any other gods before me. God even says there's other gods. Other gods exist, but I will not have any other gods but him. Other people will serve those gods. I will not. So the Philistines had all these gods. And so there was a purpose and a reason why you read the entire book of Judges. We're on the book, we're on chapter 13 and 16, 17 here in the second alphabet. All of it is children, the children of Israel doing wicked in the sight of the Lord. All of it was because of their idolatry, right? And their intermarrying with the unbeliever. When he went down and talked with the woman, she pleased Samson well. Well, that's good, I guess. After some time, when he returned to get her, he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion, and behold, the swarm of bees of honey. On the way that he went to go see her before, I'll just give you a little story. On the way that he went to go inquire of her, a lion came out and basically killed the lion with his bare hands. Ripped it apart with his bare hands. So he left it there, and he went to go inquire of this girl. He liked her, thought she was cool, kind of cute, all that stuff. And then he went down to talk with her, and he went back to the carcass of the lion. And in it was honey, and he ate it. Gross. I mean, that's gross. I think it's gross. It's gross. I don't know. Guys do weird things. Y'all eat bugs sometimes, like when you're kids, and when you go camp, y'all do weird things. So I don't know. I mean, he was like a man's man, you know. But what made this act so vile, I believe, to the Lord, was that he was not so he basically broke his vow. He was not supposed to touch or eat the unclean thing. Right? The characteristics of the Samson, the characteristics of Samson, the syndrome, is he's arrogant, he seeks fame, he has rage issues, and not just anger issues, he has rage issues. The Lord anoints him, and he has supernatural strength. And when you read it, you almost don't understand. You're like, why is the Spirit of God able to increase in his strength? The Word says that the gifts of God are irrevocable. The gifts of God and the call of God is irrevocable. Those were his gifts. That was his call. The Lord was not going to revoke it because he gave it to him. Right? So he had some rage issues. He had some serious lust issues. Serious. He was disobedient, not just to God and to his parents, but he also felt entitled. I get it. If you're the leader among people, there is a great measure of entitlement. I get that. But he misused what he was entitled to. Instead of serving his people, he served himself. That is a characteristic syndrome for Samson. Solomon. And we read in chapter 16, 1 and 2, now Samson went to Gaza and saw a harlot there and went into her. Now at this point his wife had been murdered, so now he's really ticked off with the Philistines. Okay. Now Samson went to Gaza and saw a harlot there and went into her. When the Gazites were told, Samson has come here, they surrounded the place and laid wait for him at night at the gate of the city. Isn't that funny? Now Samson went to Gaza and saw a harlot there. So he saw a woman and he saw a harlot. He's got a definite lust of the eyes issue here. He not only had the lust of the eyes, because the Lord, it's in the Word where he talks about where there's a lust of the flesh and then there's the lust of the eyes. He not only lusted with the eyes, but he also lusted with the flesh because he didn't even have to go tell his mom and dad to go get his harlot for him. In, out, out of here. Afterward, it happened that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. And the Lord of the Philistines came up to her and said to her, entice him and find out where his great strength lies, and by that we mean so that we may empower him, that we may bind him to afflict him, and every one of us will give you 1,100 pieces of silver. Notice that his wife was enticed, and now Delilah is being enticed. And it says here that he happened to love this woman. He loved her. So it's really interesting because he goes into one woman, no pursuit, no feasts, no riddles, no nagging. Right? And then he sees Delilah and he loves this woman, who is of the uncircumcised Philistines. And now her people are enticing her and basically bribing her with 1,100 pieces of silver, each of them, right? It's a lot of money because this is their enemy. Samson is their enemy. So there's an absolute arrogance in Samson here. And Delilah, that's why when you look up Delilah, all of this demonology will come up. Because Delilah is a spirit. When David brought it up, when we had the last MyPURELIFE, when he spoke it, I felt it. I said, oh my gosh, I have been that woman. I have been that woman, and these are her characteristics, where I put my security in man. I even will put my security in money, mammon. She was offered a lot of money. But what it really is security. She just wants security. But she's put that on me to give that to her. And so there's greed, and this is the one that really gets me. And I lived in the spirit before I was saved, is manipulation. I could doctor up what I was going to look, what I was going to say, how I was going to say it, to make sure that I got the right kind of guy, with the right kind of job, with the right kind of attitude, with the right kind of extracurricular activities. There was a certain recipe that I could tweak to attract a certain guy, right? The spirit of rebellion. She was rebellious. She didn't have a devotion to someone who loved her. It never said that she loved him. It only says that he loved this woman. He didn't love her. She didn't love him in return. Division. She's divided. She's double-minded. She mocks him. She mocks him every single time. When you read the text, she says, just like what his wife nagged him about, you don't love me. You hate me. You don't love me. Tell me your secret. Tell me your secret. There are some serious anointed secrets that we have in our lives that are for us, between us and God. And when we enter into covenant with someone, if the Lord grants you that intimacy and a covenant of marriage to share that with that one person, that's your holy of holies. It's you, your spouse, and the Lord that knows that intimate secret about you. And so he lets it out. You just got to nag him, and you'll get some success. And some of you men are like, yeah, I know. And some of us women, we need to understand that the nagging is actually not of God. That's not. We think, oh, but no, yeah, it's all right. No, it's not all right. That's not God. So this is the Delilah spirit. It operates in a slow seduction. She has to basically trick him every time. He tells her kind of like, okay, if you weave my braids into this loom and then bind it at the end, then like all my strength, I'll be like anybody else. And she does it. She does it with like the Philistines like waiting in the next room, like in a closet or something, waiting to get him. And he has no clue, right? And so he goes, and she's like, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. And then he gets up and gets out, and he's all like Incredible Hulk, right? She's like, oh, why are you making a fool of me? You're lying to me. Tell me your secret. Lying, nagging, manipulating, greed. Greed. Some of you might be looking like, I don't know. Okay? It says here, she isn't power hungry except for the power that mammon provides. Except for the power that mammon provides. She's persuaded by pretty things. The power that provides position, designer apparel, the things that mammon provides. She's a team player, but she's not a blatant murderer. She plays with other demons to come and oppress you. Bring idols. She'll not touch you. She won't bring idols into your house, but she will influence you to worship her. Right? And so the main assignment of Delilah is to attack those who have made a firm vow to the Lord. When I read that, I was like, the main assignment of Delilah is to attack those who have made a firm vow to the Lord. Samson made a firm vow to the Lord. And the enemy sent a Delilah to take him down. And he was successful. But God. but God had a plan. Because when you read the text, yeah, he told his dad, Mom, Dad, go get that wife for me. And the dad was like, can you not find a woman out of all of our people? Can you not find someone out of all of the people that we have here? All the women. And if you read the text, but they did not know that God was using this as an opportunity to turn against the Philistines. So God even used his judge. He was positioned in that place, anointed by God, to be used. One person can shift the tide. He had some major flaws, character flaws. Despite his flaws, God still used him. He took down more Philistines in his death than he did when he was alive. Even when he took out 1,000 Philistines with a jawbone of an ass. He took out more in his death. He finally revealed, because it says his soul was vexed when Delilah kept nagging him. Isn't that crazy? This woman wants you to reveal your most intimate secret and what makes you successful and anointed by God. And 3 times you tell her these wonderful, cute little things just to kind of appease her. And each time she's nagging you, crying, saying, you don't love me. Why are you lying to me? What lying to me? You're making a fool out of me. Finally, he is so sick of it. He finally just tells her, okay, from the time I was conceived, I've been a Nazarite, and if you were to cut my hair, my strength will be gone, and I'll just let you know. And she knew it. Women, we know when we have an answer. You know? So when you don't have it, is when we start doing all these manipulative things. And we call all our girlfriends to try to figure out what it is. What's the recipe? I'm going to try your recipe. How did that work out for you? That was really good. And you got a good man. Where did you go? How did you get there? What did you wear? The difference between Boaz and JokeAZ. Boaz is the opposite of Samson. Basically, right? He's worthy. In Ruth 2:1, he is worthy. He's a devout man of God. He's a protector. He's a provider. Passionate. Man, I mean, women, you sound amazing, right? Resume was really good. And he's a man of integrity. These are all really wonderful qualities. JokeAZ is the opposite. He is unworthy, unproven, unfaithful, cheating as, unprotected, potentially dangerous, being as. He's crafty, lying as, unreliable, Boaz. Self-centered, conceited as, lacks integrity, Mr. JokeAZ. They don't know how to minister God's gifts. Because God is irrevocable, so you either use it for good or for evil. What women really want? We want pursuit. You can take this. Pursuit. We want a covering, a shelter, protection, all that. Isn't that funny? Those 3 things: covering, shelter, protection. That's important to this. Chivalry. Chivalry is nice. Affections, communication, love, respect, adoration. Does any of the women in here disagree?
Yeah.
No? Y'all like, you missed this one. You missed that one too. The characteristics women are attracted to, men. The characteristics women are attracted to: a provider, a lover, a friend. It's good. Funny. Hilarious, I would say. Funny. Thoughtful. Committed. Resourceful. Nice. Successful. Powerful. Creative. That's a good one. Romantic. That's like, gotta do that. Generous. Reliable. Kind. Devoted. Respected. Faithful. Accountable. Did I miss anything? Let's go through the list real quick. Provider, lover, friend, funny, thoughtful, committed, resourceful, successful, powerful, creative, romantic, generous, reliable, kind, devoted, respectful, faithful, accountable,
and handsome.
Men, can you be all of those things at one time for an entire duration? You're like, I'm getting a lot of there's beatboxing in here. What women really want is Jesus.
Amen.
What women really want is Jesus.
Preach.
No man walking on this earth is going to give you all of those things. All the time, every day, for the entire lifetime of marriage. What women want is Jesus. They set their expectations not on Christ, but on man. And then expect him to be a provider, lover, friend, funny, thoughtful, committed, resourceful, powerful, creative, all of those things. And then when he fails,
Yeah.
oh, no, you didn't. That's what women really want. Get yourself off the hook. I didn't realize it until I looked at him and was like, Lord, you have lowered me for normal. You have been all of these things to me. How can a man be all of those things to me? He said, you just have to put your expectation on me, and anything that he lacks in, I don't want to hear. You will not lack in those things because I'm here. I'm your first love. He just comes in and gets to show me some of these attributes and features and characteristics that are Christ-like. It's like Jesus with arms. Muscles too. So the expectation on man, Psalm 62:5-6 says this, my soul waits silently, not nagging, for God alone, for my expectation is from him. He is my rock and my salvation, and he is my defense. I shall not be moved. Notice how I didn't realize that. We want to cover and shelter and protection. That's all basically the same thing. He is my defense. He's my covering, my shelter. Let's not be weird and not know how to be friends to each other. Friendship is important. I've been listening to all Mark Driscoll's series on the real marriage. It's amazing. That's the real friends with benefits is marriage.
Amen.
You won't know how to be a friend in marriage unless you have been a friend before marriage.
Yes.
A reliable friend, a loyal friend, a trustworthy friend, not one that's going to betray you, not one that's only going to be around you because you have power and position, because you have nice things. So let's be teachable today. There's so much more to learn. When you talked about the neat, when you talked about the neat one, that I thought was, wow, he's got to be the one. But I didn't have this distinction. I didn't have the characteristics and the distinctions between a Samson and a Boaz. Notice both of them were men of God. Very, very different characteristics, right? So I found myself, woman of God, having a drink, on a couch, man, head of my lap. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, so guilty. I was like, I'm up. Oh my gosh. You know, and if I feel like that, then how much more does my community of sisters feel about that? You know? So this is real life that we're living. And so it's important for us to not shame one another with decisions that we've made in the past. This is, the Lord says, forget the things which are behind, press forward. Now we're going to go forward. So if there's any shame in here, rebuke it in Jesus' name. You don't need to, you're not going to get our finger.
We are called to be served, and I love to serve. I love to cook. I love to do something for someone, to go and clean the house, help them when they are moving. When did you know you are not giving the wrong impression? You are doing it Christ-like without being judged that you are being a liar.
I think there's a distinction here because we're Christians and we love to serve, we're called to serve, we're called to be servants.
With the right motivation.
Right. I think, you know, there is that heart to desire to serve, but then there's also the heart to provide a service.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh. Yeah, and so it's like, okay, yeah, you want to serve, but are you providing a service? And you're really allowing the man to have a little sampler platter of what your services are.
Right.
You know? And I was convicted in the sample platter teaching because I was like, how is he going to ever go for the entree if he didn't get the sample?
My question to that is, when you think about that, do you really truly desire a man that's going to allow you to do that?
No, you're right. Because here, what as a big female, some of you guys answer too is, I want to serve, I really do, but the men that I've come across don't want it. So it's not like, oh, they just receive it. And so for me, it tells me, oh, that's how it's going to work then. I'm going to serve you. Very rarely, and this is, I believe, the Boaz characteristic. That's the significant thing of God that Boaz is. He'll go, no, you don't have to do that. This is how it's going to be. And that's only happened to me once, where someone said, that, what you just did, that's sweet. It's actually kind of cute. But you don't need to do that here. Not with me. That is a boundary that I will be excited to uphold. But I learned something about myself because for years I tried to be the new fashion girl. I'll pay for the date. I'll ask you out. I'll roll up on you. All those things. When we're on a date, you're on my date, not your date. We go where I want to go. I'll let you pick where we're going to go. I mean, this is how I was so backwards. And when I met an old-fashioned chivalrous man, I had just gotten saved, just a guy. Wasn't even Christian, really. He just was old-fashioned. And I realized, well, I mean, I tried to carry some groceries. We went grocery shopping, and I tried to carry a bag. He reprimanded me in a very gentle manner. He said, that's very kind of you, but I would like you give those to me, and I'll carry those, and you can take my arm. I was like, what century are you living in? That was my knee-jerk reaction, was to be offended, but when I thought about it, I loved it. I loved it. Walked me to the car, put the bags down, opened the trunk, and I thought, well, I'll let myself in the car. And he's like, where did you go? I go, I'm really not doing good at this. He's like, where did you go? I go, I was going to get in the car. He's like, I wanted to open the door. That moment, that teachable moment of, this is who I am, Rowena. This is the kind of man I am. He set the standard for who he is, and I had to woman up to it. And when I womaned up to it, I was like, I discovered I am an old-fashioned girl. 10 years trying to be new fashion. Old-fashioned girl. That was a shift in my paradigm.
Everything for you, just be a gentleman.
Well, if you have an opportunity and there's a man in your life that is allowing, that wants to bless you that way, I think so many women, we are so new fashioned, we don't allow the men to do that.
Yeah.
And then when the men don't do it, we make them wrong. And
Yes.
this is why healthy resistance is key to pursuit. A healthy resistance in pursuit, like I shared this in our Ballroom Advanced edition. And I shared because when there isn't a strong resistance, there are two people putting their arms up. And if they don't have a strong frame and a structure and a foundation, they won't be able to lead. The men will not be able to lead. Now, if they have a strong frame, a foundation, and they have resistance in their palms, right? If they have resistance in their palms, if I put my arm there, if I give him a dead fish thing and he does this, I'm just going to be like, what are you doing with my arm? But if he presses with a healthy resistance and in the right place, it will turn my body. So if we don't have a healthy resistance in our leading and our following, we're going to cause injury to one another. You're not just going to throw out your back, you're going to break your heart. Either one or both. Well, for sure, both of you will be frustrated because you didn't know why she didn't go back on that date with you because she just threw out her heart because the way you led was too much, too hard, too fast. Or if you had like that dead fish leading and she was like, I kind of, okay, but I did, yeah, I don't know what you were doing. You said this, but then you did this, but then that. Okay, you said you really liked the date, but it took you 3 weeks to call me afterwards. Like, this is what's going on in women's minds. There is no consistency. When you are leading, there's intentionality. You're stating, you had to work up that courage to get off the wall and man up, roll up, whatever you have to do. I prefer the man up over the roll up. Because women can see the wind up before the roll up. We already have an answer. We already have a knee-jerk reaction to your roll up. Oh, thanks, that's really sweet. That's so kind. Oh, God bless you. We already have a response to that. But when you man up, like I had someone man up to me and I was like, oh. It feels wonderful to a woman when you're in the presence of a man because all we have to do is be lead. It's nice. And I know the other end of that is, well, if I'm with a lady, I'll be a man. Well, who's the leader? Who leads? Because I'm not just looking for a boyfriend. I'm not looking just for a husband. I'm not looking for a baby daddy. I'm looking for someone that's going to be the Lord over my house. So when you're going through the interview process, put some healthy resistance in there. You're going through the interview, they didn't get the job yet. They got a second interview, they got a third interview, they got to go through a panel interview, you got to go through a background check. Amen, sister. Preaching to myself. The reason why I know this is because I'm talking about myself. Right? So that's where healthy resistance, that's where the season of friendship, I believe, that's where that comes in. Men, when you man up to us, we, as women of God, can accept or decline. You don't have to email us, unless you feel led to, and ask for a post-mortem analysis. Whether it's something I did, is something I said. And I think that happens sometimes. You want to know, what did I do? I did all the right things, you know what? Women at the church are too hard. I'm just going to go date the uncircumcised Philistine. It's easier. I don't have to work as hard. Well, if you don't have to work as hard for that, that's just temporary. But if you're seeking something permanent, then there's a lot of work to be done.
His actions did not match what he was saying about
Some people in the church have fake fruit. They put out all kinds of fruit, but it's fake. And people have manufactured mentors, manufactured background checks, things like that. And I know, right? You feel so deceived by this person. And it really was out of your hand, but praise God, the Lord delivered you from that person. So what happens with plastic fruit is it looks wonderful and everyone can say, wow, yes, fruit, that's awesome, that person bears fruit. But until you get into a relationship with that person, you share a table with that person, take a bite out of fruit, you're like, why doesn't this taste right? There's something not right about it. We know if we allow that season of friendship to come to pass with healthy resistance, we'll get the checks in the spirit and then you'll go, oh, no, I'm not going to expect perfection. That's what my excuse was. Well, I don't expect him to be perfect, so I'll forgive that. And there's another check in my spirit. I was like, well, that was like contradictory to the core of my being. But at the same time, we know when the fruit is not good. Gone through such a long season of singleness, extended seasons of singleness, and we're not just right, but we're over. So women, we kind of, that might mean more or less, I guess, than the guys, think what happens is there's a measure of desperation then that comes in when you have been walking a very long season of singleness. And you've been trying to do the right thing and not flirting as much, or like, that's just too real. Just, trying to be holy, but it's a very, it's a challenging process because you're being transformed, iron sharpens iron, chips of wood come off, you're being washed new, you're at the altar call every Sunday morning because you're becoming a new person, and you're getting acquainted with the new person that you are, but you have these knee-jerk reactions from your previous life, and so sometimes like when our fruit is over-ripened, there's a little bit of bitterness. And what happens is the things that surround us are like things that fruit. It's like when over-ripened fruit attracts fruit flies. You know what I mean? And then you wonder, what are the good ones? Well, the good ones are looking at your rotten fruit, and you can smell the aroma of your over-ripeness, and it's actually beginning to rot. The aroma of your inward motivation comes out. If your inward motivation is just to hook up, roll up on a girl at church because she fits the outward expression, you just saw a woman at church. Or you saw a harlot at church. Because now David's given us the classification of the harlot. You saw someone who can provide services to you. So if you see a woman or see a harlot at the church, you already know the inward motivation. You can tell it's the kind of character that they are. But if her inward motivation is really pure, you know that too. Because that will be known in the community. That's why, panel interviews are really important. That's why background checks are really important. Personal references, professional references, talk to their pastor. If they don't have a pastor, uh-oh. If they don't have a mentor, uh-oh. Ask them, do they have a best friend? Who's the longest friend you've had? 2 years. That's a problem. I don't have it. You've been walking as a Christian the whole life. I don't have a personal reference for you. Things like that. Those are things that are red flags, And so the inward motivation, that's the iniquity, right? That's what we got. So that's the iniquity that's in you. Your inward motivation is what creates your aroma. Your inward motivation is what is passed down to your children. So if you have lust, if you have manipulation, that's going to be your aroma, and that's going to be passed down to your children, right? And in John 12:24, it says, "Very truly I tell you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds." If you are rotten fruit, and I was, because I was like, everybody in my life is married. I'm lonely. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're single? Oh. Well, did you get married? Yeah. Oh, you want kids? Yeah. Oh." It's like there's something wrong with it. I'm like, how could I think? I hope. You think about those things and you turn it inward and you begin to attack the very creation of the Lord is in the process of creating and birthing. So that rotten season that I had to just I had to write it out. I had to let it die. That desperation had to die. Because then what happened was it fell to the ground, it rotted, so then new seed came from. So it's possible to get past that season and the Lord create you brand new. And it says in the New Living Translation, the same book, chapter, verse, John 12:24. "I tell you the truth, unless a kernel of wheat is planted in the soil and dies, it remains alone. Unless you are planted into the soil, the bedrock of Christ Jesus, and then you die there, then you will, it will remain alone." It says here, unless it's planted in the soil and dies, it remains alone. Some of us have to take a little bit of an account. Are we alone because we're still living on our knee-jerk reactions, on our former characteristics, our old man, old woman? So we have to take account for some of those things. And then, but its death will produce many new kernels, a plentiful harvest of new lives. That's in the New Living Translation. So, if you ever feel like you're coming to or have been or are in a season of desperation, that could be why people around you are like, what? Is it my breath? Like, what is it? No, we could sense by the Holy Spirit the aroma of your inward motivation. The Lord, when we're in our prayer closet, will discern so many of those things. A friend of mine, Jacqueline, would say, what makes you attractive to men of God is that you don't need to be married. You're so fulfilled in Christ. We don't have to try to fix you. We don't have. And I was like, to be honest, when I first heard it, I wasn't sure if it was a compliment. I wasn't sure that I wanted to be that girl. Like, really? Because that's probably why I'm still alone. People don't think I need anybody. And he's like, no. You need to understand. In the position that he was in, there were so many people that needed something. People wanted something, needed to have something, needed his time, needed his influence, needed his power, needed his ministering ability, needed his counsel. And he's like, you go to the Lord for that. That is attractive.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I didn't even realize that was a characteristic of the woman of God. And answering that later because we want what we wanted. I saw a woman, go get her. I saw a man, Dad, go get her. She's mine. And God's like, why are you looking among the uncircumcised? Why are you looking there? Okay, I will, but you need to die where you are to those inner work so I can bless you. There's a lot of work. So it's the healthy resistance is important. I'm learning it.